Okay. Trying to figure out how this will look or how it works.
What are you looking at?
Oh, the Mastodon instance that I was just joined into. Okay, how do I... Plus? Yes? Okay. I don't understand why. Oh, alrighty then. Hmm. You still there?
Yep.
Oh, you just got really quiet.
I just wasn't saying anything.
This is going to take some getting used to. Figure out what... Oh, okay.
So, which one are you using for your porn stuff?
Bear.community
Okay. Gear 73.
with 3 X's. But I can't find my stupid profile image to change my avatar. So it's kind of annoying the piss out of me. Oh, I know how to fix this. Hang on. Let me go to Twitter and download my image from there. Because that would be the smart thing to do. Let's say this. If you can't find it in your library anywhere, just save it and then reload it. Because that's the silly thing to do.
You followed Harry Beartop?
Yes. Why?
I'll follow him too. Oh, it's Richie.
I don't think you need to broadcast that.
Sorry.
That's why I didn't say anything. I was like, yeah, I know who he is. Why? Oh. Edit profile, change your header. Oh, that's not helping any. Oh, shut up, Logitech. It's having a hissy fit. Keeps telling me that there's a
Hi,
update.
Tubbs. Hi, James. Hi,
Right
Owen.
now. Oh, yeah, we're live. I should bother to pay attention to that. Cancel. Why can't I? Twitter, why are you being such a boob? I just want to get my stupid image.
By the way, chat room, how do I sound? Do I sound like not quiet?
Save image
Give me
as.
about 30 seconds to respond to that.
Well, that's what was funny was for COLDR, Philip like is in the live chat saying that he can't hear me very well, so that I'm like trying to edit and at the same time not really. Oh, hey, you didn't change the. Oh, yeah, you did. Well, that was weird.
Hmm?
So in YouTube Home, the thumbnail for for the live notification was COLDR. But when I went to the actual channel to load tonight, it was correct.
Right.
Anyways.
Well, there's the preview issue for it.
Okay, save changes. Waiting. Close, success, changes successful. Blah, blah, blah. What's on your mind? Nothing right now. That's not completely true. I'm sort of in mourning Because as someone pointed out like 2 days ago, Tumblr is turning into just a ghost town. Hardly anything's getting posted anymore.
Gamer Cup.
Okay, close that. Do I know you? Do I want to know you? I don't know. Some people's names I am unsure about. Okay, enough of that. Oh, poop. I don't have stuff with me. Oh, well. Just get past it. Why? Hey, Michael, in the live chat. Why is YouTube...
Huh?
YouTube's got a thing, at least in my live chat, it says, remember to guard your privacy and abide by our community guidelines. The fuck is that about?
I don't know. It's annoying, but hey. What can you do?
Well, I try to click learn more and nothing comes up or changes or happens. Wah, wah. Hey, we're at almost at 400
Content. Know that.
subscribers.
What type of content to stream? When filming videos of your friends, classmates, and or teens, remember they should never be sexually suggestive, violent, or dangerous. Note that this also applies to live chat. Personal information. Be cautious about sharing your personal information during your live stream as well as in live chat. Admin access to your channel should only be provided to those who you trust. YouTube will not ask you for moderation privileges in the stream. Control, flag inappropriate content, or block users from the chat that make you or others feel uncomfortable.
Hey, Brian.
Privacy section. It's a party here.
Alrighty then. Are you ready?
As I'll ever be.
Okay.
Which doesn't necessarily mean much.
This is as good as it gets.
Might help if I open soundboard. Guess I wasn't as ready as I thought I was. Cool. Title card. Alright. Oh, where'd it go? There it is. There it is. Alright, so over here for the start of the show, do that, hit that. God, I really wish they would give an update to that. So, audio test.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So
Way.
transition. All right, here we go. In 3, 2. It's December 16th, 2018. I'm Jeff.
Who's your bear? That's right. I am your bear.
And that makes me Gary.
Don't hurt nobody with your bad self.
And welcome to Cubs Out Loud, the Bear Podcast of Indeterminate Lengths, episode number 491. And I feel like it's going to be a short show.
Maybe.
I mean, I'm feeling that way, but I don't know. Is it going to be a short show?
It depends on how in depth we get.
So it's just you and I, because what is Damon doing right now?
Damon is wrapping up the Gay Men's Chorus holiday spectacular weekend. I think they did 4 shows over 4 days, 3 days.
Oh,
I think they did Friday. I think they did definitely Friday night, Saturday night. They had a show today, and I can't remember if they did a Saturday matinee. So it might have been Friday night 2 yesterday and then today. So he gonna be tired.
it was also. So a quick question before we actually get into the topics, but if I know correctly, Midwest Bear Fest was this weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, none of us could go.
Right. Damon had the Gay Men's Chorus, which has always been kind of a juggle for him personally with his schedule. I want to say most of the time in the past 5 years, if he went to Midwest, he missed the concert. Or if he didn't go to Midwest, it was because of the concert. Like, there was no way to do both, basically. At least I think it's only been the past couple of years. So, yeah, for him, it was a challenge. So, haven't really heard much about it. I did see that some people I know went. This is the takeaway that I think is probably true for certain people, which is if you go to an event and you're meeting friends, you'll have a decent time because you're hanging with your friends, irregardless of what's going on around you. Like, unless it's majorly impacting, like, you know, weather conditions necessarily, or, you know, things that are outside of your hands that impact the whole grouping. Otherwise, I think you'll be okay. So, yeah, difficult to say. But yeah. So that was the thing that went on this weekend.
Yeah, I bring it up partly because normally, at least within the past several years, we've had an episode at Midwest Bear Fest, but we're not this year. So if anybody's being like, oh, where's the On the Road show? Well, we're not having one this year, unfortunately. None of us could go. Well, I never can go.
There is no On the Road because none of us are on the road.
So,
yeah.
Sorry
so
to disappoint. If anybody was excited for it.
Damon kind of knew months ago that he probably wasn't going to be able to go. And then with my situation, it just wasn't lining up, you know, and I was like, no, I can't. So,
this year. Yeah. Maybe next year. We'll see. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I hope nobody's getting some FOMO for missing out on the Midwest Bear Fest show. So,
well, my feeling on it is if you had FOMO and you lived through the podcast, perhaps they should have tried to go.
There you go.
I mean, I get that everybody can't go, obviously, but
anyways. So, what are we talking about today? Let's get into something that's a little more cheerful.
Hungry for the holidays, which is really funny because I almost thought about starting a new series called Let's Talk About Food, but I couldn't come up with anything to tie it in. Like, let's talk about sex, let's talk about cake. I was like, wow, it's kind of like just creating a whole new podcast. But anyways, but I was thinking about that.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Well,
wait a minute, there's already a show.
Yeah, I know. Someone's probably got a trademark on that. Yeah. But I thought we'd talk about the things that we look forward to when it comes to food in the holidays, because certain things are only made by certain individuals or are not, I want to say restricted, but kept to certain times of the year. So because, as we say in the U.S., it's the holiday season, there are certain things that, you know, just kind of come around. And I thought we might talk about like what we long for, what we like to make, what we like to enjoy. Like if we go to an event that we're invited to, like there are certain dishes perhaps or food items or even beverages that we specifically are fans for, or are known for preparing even. Everybody's a little different in what they like. Me personally, like, one of the things about this time of year is I'm a fan of gingerbread, as in like gingerbread itself, not
Like that bread.
correct. Like, my dad and I were shopping yesterday, and we were at a store, and they had pfeffernuss, which my father was like,
Gesundheit?
right. Yeah, exactly. My dad did exactly that. He was like, bless you. And I was like, very funny. But it's a German gingerbread cookie that's iced. So, in fact, they're in the kitchen. I could have shown them on cam, but they're round. They're like a little larger than a like 25-cent, maybe towards like a 50-cent piece. They're domed. Sometimes it depends on the manufacturer. Sometimes they're really soft, other times they're not. But I like ginger as a flavor, and I never knew that, but I picked it up as a kid because my dad every once in a while would go through a kick, and he loved ginger snaps, the cookies. And so I just really like ginger and molasses. So I like gingerbread, but I've never really had gingerbread cookies a whole lot, or like, and I've never been one to decorate like a gingerbread house or make that kind of stuff. That's not really my thing, but I know that, like yesterday, my aunt gets food discounted and a bunch of stuff. And so when we visited, she was like, do you and your dad want to go through these grocery bags? She's like, I don't want any of this stuff. Keep it, or, pass it on to someone else. So I got to dad's, and we're going through it. And so I took a bunch of stuff. So like right now in the kitchen, I'm making chili. I'm stewing it. And so, because I had like kidney beans and chili beans and like tomato juice and some other stuff. So, and that's an example to me of like a holiday food. It may not be holiday related, but it's very much at this time of year. Like it's
something you normally have around here. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of healthy and hearty and that kind of stuff. But it got me thinking about like cookies and, like, I love Bûche de Noël, which is like a Swiss log roll cake, for another way to say it. I've never made one. I might make one this year. I don't know.
They look hard to make. Anything where you have to roll cake.
Well, that's the thing. Technically, it's not that difficult to make.
I watched the British baking show.
Right, but here's the thing: is like the hard part is the rolling. Like, it's not making the cake. It's not making the filling. It is literally
it's the rolling. Yeah.
Right. It's the getting the roll and the swirl, and then once that's kind of done and it sets, then you just have to ice that sucker.
Yeah.
And you're
if there's a little breakage, usually you end up covering it up with all the icing. So.
Right. Like, I made vegan meringue cookies 2 nights ago. Because
did you get that off of sorted food?
I did. I did get it off sorted food because I had garbanzo beans.
Yeah.
And I was gonna use them in the stew I made 3 days ago. And I did, but I remembered that the vegan meringue cookies use aquafaba, which is the water from garbanzo beans when they're canned. So I was like, oh, I think I have castor sugar, otherwise known as powdered sugar. And I was like, I think I could make vegan meringues. That'll be interesting. It's something to try. And sure as shit, I did. They're kind of tasty.
Yeah.
So mine spread out. They didn't stay as to form as I would have liked them to. So I don't know if I needed to like let the mixer whip the froth up longer, because they were soft peak sort of when I started. But anyways,
I like Dub's comment in the chat is, I know it's kind of cannibalism and I'm mostly a top, but I'm a sucker for pigs in a blanket. Pigs in blankets.
I love pigs in a blanket. The really, I want to say crappy, the bad for you holiday food where you take little Smokies and then you roll them in crescent dough and then bake them in the oven. Yeah, that's a known thing that like I look forward to. But that's probably because it's fatty, salty.
It's very much a party food.
It is,
because it's something you can make a whole bunch of.
Yeah.
So
the meringue thing got me on a kick. Like, it got me thinking about like the holidays and just different things and about food. And so like in my families, my father's family is sort of known for food in that they, not that my mom's family didn't, but like we have storylines in my dad's family about generationally, like my great grandparents and my great grandparents dealing, even to my grandparents dealing with the Depression and the wars. And so like you had a garden in the back and like you had chickens and that's how you got your eggs. Like, I mean, you really lived very locally and you relied on everything. I mean, and everything was utilized. You didn't throw anything away. And so like you would mix and match things. And my grandparents had a handful of kids, a decent sized family, in today's standards, a larger family. And so my grandmother would just like anything she could use to make filler and spread the thing, whatever it was a notorious thing. So my grandmother on my dad's side is known as like, has been known for decades now as like a person who just invents things because you kind of whip stuff up. And it made me laugh because I think it was 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, I'm in Walmart freezer section and I'm laughing my ass off because in the freezer section, they had something called spaghetti pie. And it's basically a casserole made with spaghetti noodles. Mm-hmm. And it's frozen and you just like heat it up. But in our family, it was always called spaghetti lasagna. Like, and it was a running joke because it was basically a pasta casserole, but instead of lasagna noodles, you just use spaghetti noodles.
Right.
Like, and you would sometimes put like pepperoni on top of it. Like, but that's what I mean. Like we would just like experiment and do weird different things. So one of the things that my grandmother's known for, which was at Thanksgiving and will probably reappear at Christmas and or New Year's, is pink applesauce. So what my grandmother does is she just takes plain old applesauce and red cinnamon candies and literally just put so many red cinnamon candies in the applesauce on the stove and lets the candies melt down and it the coloring turns it pink. So you get a sweet, spicy kind of applesauce, but it's known as pink applesauce. And my like generations in my family have been raised on this, and it's hysterical to me because it's nothing special technically, but it's one of those things like that's what grandmother's known for that she still makes to this day. She brought a little container to Thanksgiving and it got eaten up. And
I mean, like basically what you're doing when you're making pink applesauce is you're, instead of using real cinnamon, you're using the fake cinnamon from the Red Hots.
Well, right,
and that's causing the color change, and it gives it a slightly different flavor. But when you use like regular cinnamon, it makes the color more of a tan brownish applesauce versus the stuff that you get in a cup at the or a jar at the grocery store, which is all like yellow because it like has absolutely no spicing.
Right. Well, it depends. I mean, you could purchase applesauce that is spiced, so to speak, and it would probably have some flecks in it, or they might use like cinnamon oil, like your flavoring as opposed to actual cinnamon. But you're right. Like these like kind of red hot type candies, when they melt down, the cinnamon is different. It's cinnamon, like it's spicy, but spicy towards heat as opposed to spicy like seasoning.
Yeah.
So like you could have two cinnamon applesauces side by side. One would be the pink and one would be the other, and like they wouldn't necessarily be the same. And it is kind of comical. I think that happens in families where you make things and it's like, well, nobody could make such and such like so and so.
Applesauce in a while.
It's so easy.
I know. Like, I got a crock pot. I've made it before.
The
first time I did it, it was a complete disaster. But now I figured out how to do it properly because the recipe I had said to cut it into thin slices and put it in. And I think I just didn't stir it enough for it to break down. And I'm like, this is still not turning out how like I'm used to. So the second time I did it, instead of doing slices, I did chunks.
Right.
So I like cubed it up. And it turned out so much better. And plus, I did more stirring. So.
Well, and it's funny because
you still need to break it down a little with some stirring motions through the cooking process.
At some point, like at my when I lived with my roommate Jeff for quite a long time. He does a lot of home cooking, doesn't buy out a whole lot. And so he would make applesauce regularly year round, like every couple weeks. And I just never really paid much attention. And then I like said something to him about making applesauce, and I went to make it. And he's like, it's really easy. And I'm like, it is? And he goes, yeah, you just cook apples. Like, that's it.
It's pretty much it. Yeah.
You don't have to do anything else. Like, apples have a high water, content. You put them in a pot, you put a lid on. Like, you don't leave them whole, and some people debate on skin or no skin. And you just, like you said, you cut them up and take the core out, basically, put them in a pot and just let them cook down and stir every once in a while. And depending on the type of apples, some of them you don't even have to really stir very much. And then it just kind of basically turns to mush. And it's up to you whether you want to like use a hand masher or a spoon or put them in a blender, or if you really want something like really well mixed or blended. But yeah, it's kind of comical, but it's funny to be
chunks.
Well, I have to laugh because so I got into a kick when I was living with him. I would make maple applesauce. So I went on this kick for like a year to a year and a half. Every time I made applesauce, I was always putting maple flavoring and maple syrup in it. So the maple flavoring would kind of oomph the maple syrup, only because I was using real authentic maple syrup here locally as opposed to like some store bought. Yeah, log cabin or whatever. So yeah, like it's really funny, like in some ways that people kind of forget how easy it is to make some things. Like I have an Instapot that I've had for a year and a half, and this is the time of year it usually gets the workout, because that's how I made the stew, that's how I'm making like the chili. I've made a ton of rice in it. I've made stock a whole bunch of times, like veggie stock and broths and stuff. Like it's just the thing I love the most about it is like it's sort of a set it and forget it aspect, which can be convenient if you get distracted easily and forget about things and that stuff. So yeah, gingerbread's kind of a thing. So I'm wondering, I have a sort of a list, Jeff, I was going to ask you about.
Excuse me.
Apple cider. Do you have an opinion on that at all?
After I stop coughing, Jesus. Honestly, I've been kind of sick this week, so and I'm still recovering. I still got a sore throat. I haven't had apple cider in a long time, and I love apple cider, like the cloudy apple cider. Like if you ever see like those big jugs of what's labeled as apple cider, and you can see through it. I mean, it's still got the brown color and everything. That's not apple cider. That's apple juice.
I'm in the same camp as you, but I think it's because we're from the north, where most people would probably have locally made apple cider, where it's not. It could like we have a local cider mill here where I live. In my city that has been around since before I was born. It's now not owned by the same family, but they had a fire. They had to move locations. They sold the business. And the big thing was about like, it used to be non-past. You going to be okay?
Yeah. I muted my stream audio, so it wasn't coughing in listeners' ears.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Well,
it's fine. It's fine.
Just partially.
Move on. Continue.
But anyways, like it used to be unpasteurized, and then there was this big thing, like the FDA had to step in or whatever, the health departments, and they had to heat pasteurize. So I love going and picking up I was there the first day this fall season because I just happened to be in that area and was, I think, about to head on my way out of town. And I follow them on social media, and they were like, cider's officially here and the slushy machine is on. And I was like, yes. There's nothing in the world like an apple cider slushy. I don't know what to tell you. It's just a thing.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about apple cider. Well, I can enjoy apple cider cold just fine. I actually prefer it warm and hot.
Yeah.
Pour it into a mug, pop it in the microwave for a minute and a half or something, just to warm it up, and it's just like get the steam and just.
I can go either way. Like I love fresh apple cider when it's the fall, but it's still warm, meaning warm outside, temperature-wise. So I drink it cold then, and then at this time of year, I'll heat it up. And it just depends on my mood. Like I might heat it up in a saucepan and put like some nutmeg and some allspice or some cinnamon
Kind
or
of mull it a little bit.
yeah, just like let
A little
the
bit.
spices kind of season it a little
Mm.
bit. In that case, but yeah, so cider's kind of a thing. I made a apple kind of cidery moonshine thing a couple years ago. I got a surplus of apples, so I soaked vodka in amongst them, and then with some cinnamon, and then like pureed it and stuff, strained it. But there's other things that are known at this time of year that I'm going to own this one. I'm not really a fan of fruitcake. Never really have been.
I don't think I've ever had fruitcake.
Well, I kind of know why I'm not
What
a
is
fan
it
of
called? What do they call it in Britain? Do they just call it Christmas cake?
Maybe.
This was on an episode of Assorted Food. I think they mentioned it too. Or was it something else? No, maybe it was the British baking show. I don't remember.
Yeah, like panettone, fruitcake, they're in this category that I'm not necessarily a fan of, and I know kind of why. It's the dried fruit that's in it. Like I'm just not one that really cares for dried fruits and foods necessarily. At least where they're chopped or bits and like they're chewy.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take a fruit and like add water to kind of constitute if it's been dried and puree it, and then make a filling out of it, I'm fine.
Mm.
It's just like it's a textural thing. It's like a kind of a chewy thing.
So like you don't like oatmeal raisin cookies?
Nope.
Oh,
I have trust
love
issues because of oatmeal raisin cookies. I'm just gonna say it.
No.
Yes,
Oh, no.
because sometimes people make oatmeal raisin cookies and they look like chocolate chip cookies, and then you find out it's not a chocolate chip cookie. My best friend H will back me up on this. She's in the same camp, I believe. We have jokes running about this. Yes, that is a no.
Strangely enough, if I thought it was a chocolate chip cookie, I ate it, and it was an oatmeal raisin cookie, I'd be like, pleasant surprise.
Now, here's what's really funny. Like, it is sort of towards the fall, not really in the winter. I will get a craving. Well, not so much anymore because they're really gross now. I remember them differently when I was younger. Little Debbie oatmeal cream pie sandwich. Like, there's 2 cookies with this completely real filling in the middle. I say non-real because it's all chemical. Like there's not a whole lot
Right.
original about it. And it's funny because there are little like flecks of color in those cookies that could maybe be raisins, but they don't look like raisins. They like it's not the same thing. So it cracks me up. So like that's about the closest I get when it comes to that. But yeah, I'm not that kind of a person. Like I've never really cared. And what's really funny is I've never really cared for raisins. So like,
Aww.
like I love grapes. I'll eat grapes when they're in season and
You just don't
have
like
them in
them
food and stuff.
dried.
I'm kind of like the only thing I've ever enjoyed, and even then it's sort of limited, is dried cranberries, like on a salad.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
And I think it's because they're really tart. And that might be like part of the reason that I like it. But outside, like to have just a handful of like dried fruit is not my thing. So I think that's.
I used to eat raisins all the time, like just straight up, like the California raisins that they have in the little boxes.
Ugh,
So good.
It's one of the things I hated at Halloween. Like if anyone gave me like little boxes of raisins, I was like, "What the fuck is this shit? That's not candy." So I'm gonna own something. I'm gonna jump to a beverage that's a holiday season thing, eggnog.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here's a funny story about eggnog. I have not ever had it until I think 2 winters ago. I didn't think I would like it because for some reason I thought it was going to be like really cloyingly sweet, like it was going to be really thick and like when you drink it, like it just coats everything and like there was like I was thinking it was going to be like custard, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and I'm also not a fan of whiskey. Or Scotch or bourbon for that matter, all of them. So, but Alton Brown has an amazing eggnog recipe that takes like 2 months to make. That's not true. It doesn't take 2 months to make it. It takes about 6 to 8 weeks to mature. But you start it off and then you just basically bottle it and you leave it alone and you don't touch it for about a month and a half to 2 months. And I made it as a Christmas gift, I think 2 years ago, and I gave it to friends. And what's hysterical is they, at the same time, gave me and other friends, we were all collectively together, they made homemade Irish cream, like Bailey's.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just really hysterical that was the year that both of us sort of had the same instance of making a booze concoction or whatever. So since then, I learned I like eggnog, but I think I really like real stuff, not like stuff in a jug that you go and buy at the store.
Well, and,
yeah,
and also the stuff at the store is most likely not boozy anyways.
Well, right. I mean, you buy, like, if you buy it at the convenience store in the corner or at the grocery store or whatever, and then you take it home, you got to add your own booze. Unless you maybe buy it at like where they sell liquor, but then it's already like blended, like margarita mix or something. Like the booze is already in there, and you just pour it over ice or something else. So, but yeah, it's one of those things like as a beverage that I go, okay, like it. I could or could not. It's not a thing that I have to have. But since we just had Thanksgiving, the funny thing is, being in the holiday season, Thanksgiving and Christmas sort of blend together in some families and do not in others, which cracks me up to no end. So I'm curious on your thoughts on green bean casserole. Do you think of it as a general holiday dish, or one or the other?
I find it more of a dish, like not specifically holidays, but it typically comes out for holidays. If that makes any sense,
right?
And I think it's really hard to make it actually taste good because usually it ends up just being bland. Like there's no, like it wasn't seasoned right or something, and it's just all it is a creamy mush of green beans with no flavor. And I'm like, it's kind of useless if you don't have flavor, because I like green beans. I like cooked green beans, even to put some little butter on it, right? So you need to make sure it has that green bean flavor and maybe even some additional creaminess flavors going along with it. So it's so hard for anybody. It seems like it's so hard for anybody to make a good, I'm not talking about even great, just a good green bean casserole, which I think is one of the reasons why a lot of people like nag on it. Mm-hmm. It's just because green bean casserole, bleh. And I'm like, oh, it's all right, it's fine. It's just nobody can make it, or amend my statement, very few people can make a good green bean casserole.
Well, and I think you're onto something to say, like, so the dish that most Americans know, I'm going to say is the classic that came from out of the 50s because of the Campbell's soup like recipe thing that they had a contest basically. I don't know actually. I don't think it was a contest. I think she was an employee. It was a woman who invented the dish, and it became so popular. Like I remember in the 80s into the 90s, like everybody had it, and you had to go to the store and you had to buy like the cream of mushroom soup and the French's fried onions and stuff. And then like I remember like some chefs, including Alton Brown as a culinary person, who was like, there is a problem with this dish. It doesn't come from anything. Like it was invented and it's not necessarily good. And so what's comical about it is you bring up really good points. Like it can be good, but you have to layer it with flavors. So like you need to make a really good, robust mushroom sauce that doesn't overpower green beans, and you need to not overcook the green beans because then they just like get gray and taste like crap. And so it's kind of comical to me that had not a resurgence, but like there was a shift that, people are learning to make it on their own. For me, I normally think of it as a Thanksgiving dish, but I don't come from families or backgrounds that are like, no, like this is for Thanksgiving and this is for Christmas. Like, and these things will not cross or whatever. Because I know in some families, like, they have turkey for Thanksgiving and they have ham strictly for Christmas or something of that sort. And I'm like, like, my families are kind of like traditional. Like, we have turkey at Thanksgiving, but like, it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only thing, or the only time that it would possibly be served.
I can't really think of. I mean, I think there's, because like, even if you look at the Christmas Carol, they actually. Oh, actually, I think they had a goose in the final scene where Scrooge actually brings a goose to the. Is it Crockett?
The Cratchits?
Cratchits, thank you. House, I think he brings a duck, but it's still foul. So, I mean, Christmas dinner to me is whatever you make of it. So, while I think traditionally we've had ham, I don't think there's anything that says that we couldn't have a Christmas turkey. Like, that's just what we end up making. I don't think there's any staunch rule or anything. Plus, it's nice to have a variety of food between Thanksgiving and Christmas. They're so close together. Have the fowl for turkey, because that just feels traditional for Thanksgiving, and a ham for Christmas. So that's something different. But it's not necessarily a set in stone thing.
It's really funny because I'm not that particular about the protein. Go ahead, get all your jokes in now. I'm more of a sides kind of person. Like, I prefer stuffing or dressing, whichever you want to term it as or call it. I have a very fond place for me personally with a certain type that my grandmother used to make on my mom's side of the family that some of the other kids have made, some of my aunts have made. And technically I could make it. It's from scratch. It's not out of the box, but it's a sausage stuffing. So it's sweet sausage that's been cooked in a pan into crumbles. And then you take that out, you leave the fat behind, cook the onions and the celery, and then, add the stock and the bread and all that kind of jazz. And that's just a thing that I really like, that kind of like sweetness, but like the I guess kind of way, it's kind of like the umami, like the meat and the bread and all that kind of stuff. So I'm a sucker for carbs. So potatoes, I'm totally there, whether they're mashed or if it's like a casserole, like potatoes au gratin or cheesy potatoes or, that kind of stuff. I'm fine with any of that. It doesn't matter to me. It's really funny because the more I think about it, I'm like, I'm not really that fanatical about like whatever the main item has to be, if it's turkey or ham or pork or some sort. I
just care that it's food.
What's that?
I just care that it's food.
Yeah. Like, not that this will be shocking to anybody, I'm not Jewish, but I love me some latkes, which become, very popular around this time of year with Hanukkah. Potato pancakes with sour cream, with applesauce, with both yes please, doesn't matter.
Can you get loaded latkes?
I don't see why not. I mean, that brings up an interesting point. I wonder if you took latkes and treated them like Waffle House, if you could run the gamut with that.
Because I don't think including bacon with it would make it kosher.
Yeah. No. I agree. It definitely would not be kosher to get them. What is it? Topped? Is that the reference for ham? Now I gotta look that up.
I don't know, but bacon is part of what I consider it for anything that's loaded involving a potato. Bacon, sour cream, cheese.
I'm trying to do a really quick Google search, and I'm like, this is.
So if you want to bastardize latkes, you would make it non-kosher with pork.
That's true. I'm looking to see if I can find Okay, this is your hash brown potatoes. You can get them scattered, which will spread on the grill, smothered, which is with onions, covered, which is with cheese, chunked, that's the one, with diced ham. Diced is with diced tomatoes, peppered is jalapeno peppers, capped is mushrooms, topped is with chili, and all the way is all the available toppings.
Okay.
You can even have them country style with sausage gravy.
Okay, so they don't kind of work along the lines of how like baked potato or mashed potatoes would be loaded.
No, but probably because they don't have all of those ingredients in a Waffle House, to be fair. Like
sour cream, bacon, and cheese?
Well, they've got cheese. I don't know if they necessarily have sour cream. If they do, it might be in a little tub, like pre-sealed, like butter. The bacon, yes, but not crumbled, and probably no chives.
True. Oh well.
So it's kind of comical because we don't have a Waffle House here where I live, which is hysterical to me because I'm like, yeah, we really need one. We used to have a Denny's, it's gone. So
Waffle House, I think, is a mostly southern thing.
I like how James in the live chat, he's giving me the breakdown before I was trying to look it up. You can tell someone's been to Waffle Ho, explaining what chunked and topped is.
Which sounds kind of like a sexual thing. I want to be chunked and topped. I don't know.
Or I am chunked and I want to be topped. I don't know.
Something like that.
Sure.
What else you got?
So desserts.
Grasshopper pie.
Oh, good golly, no. That's a no for me.
All right. What do you think grasshopper pie is?
Cream de menthe.
Yep, and cream de cocoa and marshmallows and cream.
Nope.
In an Oreo cookie crumb crust.
I'm not a fan of.
It's so good.
Well, you can have the whole thing. I'm not a fan of cream de menthe. Like I was just about to say this thing, which I'm also not a fan of, which is peppermint bark.
No, I'm not a fan of that. But
people that aren't familiar, it's basically. Well,
do you like mint at all?
I do, but I'm really finicky about it. Like, I don't think I care for manufactured mint flavor,
because
that's probably
with a combination issue. Because in a pie, like if you get one of those pre-made Oreo crumb pie crusts,
right,
that big, you have one shot of cream de menthe, a shot of cream de cocoa, 20 large marshmallows, and a whipped pint of whipping cream. So it has mint flavor. It has the usually has the green color to it. Yeah. And you got the Oreo cookie crumb crust to give some more chocolate. Do you like mint chocolate chip ice cream at all?
Nope.
Okay.
My mother has practically disowned me over this issue. She loves, when I was a kid, she grew up, she loved mint, like green mint chocolate chip ice cream, and I could not stand it. And it was to the point of where she was like, "Who are you? And you may not be my son. Like, how is this possible that you don't like this?" And I'm like, I don't. Like, I just don't. But like, as I've grown up and I've become an adult, I think I've realized it's probably because the mint flavor is manufactured. And the thing is like, there's a difference between spearmint and peppermint. Mm-hmm. And I've too often have been boogered by people offering me gum, and I ask them what kind of gum it is, and they say mint, and it's spearmint, which I can't stand. And so it just, like, I don't know. I have issues with. I'm just gonna own it. Yeah. So like, I think if I had a mint something, I could probably be okay with it if it was like the refreshing mint as opposed to the overpowering mint. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I think. Like, it's kind of like I have a thing about bananas. So, by the way,
bananas.
complete non sequitur. I just finally watched season 3 of Bill Nye Saves the World on Netflix. And he talks about, it came out like back in March.
Maybe I have.
Probably. But in one of the episodes, he talks about food and how it's evolved. And he talks about how we use Cavendish bananas now. But there was another banana that was much bigger and fatter that he has a replica of. And I think it was called the big guy or the good boy or something like that. It kind of looks like a yellow eggplant, just to give anybody an idea. Like, it's not as long, but it was very squat. Like it looks like some anatomy parts I used to see on Tumblr. Let me put it that way. Some ouchy ones at that. But anyways, apparently it was very sweet and it was very creamy. So people loved it, but unfortunately it got wiped out by a bacterium or something of that sort, or a fungus. And so it's extinct. Like, it doesn't exist anymore as a plant. But then there was another version of banana that was, so basically there was one main type, and then it kind of got wiped out, and there are two other varietals, and there's the Cavendish and the other one, and one of them is used always for flavoring, and that's the one I can't stand. Mm-hmm. So, like, people love banana flavored things, and I'm like, ugh, because I can tell the difference. But, like, if I go to, like, a mom and pop restaurant or a diner or something, and they make their own desserts, and they make banana pudding or, like, a banana cream pie, I will ask them flat out, like, is it made on premises? Do you use real bananas? And if they say yes, I'm willing to get it. But if they can't tell me, then I don't bother. Because I'm like, I don't want something that's been made somewhere and be disappointed and bothered by that. Mm-hmm. And so, to me, the mint thing is like the banana thing. Like, I'm particular about it. So, like, peppermint mark is nice, but I don't want any. So, like, you know, people sometimes will have it like on a cookie tray, or they'll be like, oh, I made some. And I'll be like, no, thanks. Like,
in the meantime, if anybody wants my recipe for grasshopper pie, which is delicious, let me know.
Philip just said in the live chat, so much for a short show. Gary's on a soapbox. Hey, listen, Hadrian's not here this week, so maybe
somebody has to fill in.
Right, we'll just pass the soapbox every week. It'll be a new thing. What do you mean? What is wrong with me, Philip?
In regards to mint. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like, every once in a blue moon, it's kind of like I don't know about other people with cravings. I haven't had an orange juice craving in a long time. When I was younger, every once in a while, all of a sudden I would be like, I really want orange juice. Like, and I feel like I would drink a lot of it. But, like, it was kind of like, it's going to be horrible.
How did we transition to orange juice?
Well, let me explain.
I'm going
to get there.
Where?
Philip's to blame. So here's the thing. I would go through phases where, like, every once in a while in a bloom, I would want a thing, but I would want a very specific thing, and I would want a bunch of it, and then it's like it just kind of gets out of my system. A peppermint patty, a York peppermint patty, every once in a blue moon, I'll be like, oh, I could really go for a peppermint patty.
Gross.
That's the closest I get to the mint thing, but it's like, and I don't want a lot of them. Like, I just want one, like, or two little ones. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then I'm done. I don't need.
You want a junior mint?
No,
not a whole box, but one of them. That's basically what they are. They're just
right. So I need to meet somebody who has a box of junior mints and be like, I'm sorry, could I just have like two little rabbit turds? That's all I need. No,
because I mean they're the same thing, at least to me, and they're horrible. They're disgusting. They're gross.
Yeah,
that's not the mint that I like. So
yeah, so peppermint bark is kind of a no for me. But at this time of year, well, let's get into this because maybe we have discussed this before on the podcast. Are you a cake person or a pie person, Jeff?
I'm more of a pie person.
Okay, so am I. Don't get me wrong. I'll eat cake if cake is there, but cake's got to be special. Like, I'm not that fanatical about cake. Pie, more often than not, to me has more flavor, is a little bit more condensed. Cake, on the other hand,
it's more about the filling for the pie.
Yeah,
with the crust as the baked part of the crust is more of the complement to the filling. it's basically the delivery system and gives it a additional texture. Apple pie, pumpkin pie. I can't stand pecan pie or pecan pie. I don't know where
Really?
it's from. Well, I'm not a nut guy, which sounds so weird. But I really
Your sheets
am
on your bed say something different.
different types of nuts. So
That's true.
and I'll have like peanut butter and peanuts on occasion, but I'm just not a fan of the legume. I don't know, what are they? No, that's just the peanuts.
Yeah, peanuts are just the legumes. Nuts are
Nuts? Are they just in seeds almost? Right?
yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, I'm just not that type of person. I'm just not a fan of that as much.
Yeah, they're basically seeds.
Seeds. So
Yeah.
and I'm not a fan of like sunflower seeds either, so
I'm pretty much okay with all nuts in general. I have a preference for like hazelnuts or filberts. Macadamia nut every once in a blue moon, but that's because they're so rich, like creamy, fatty style. Like if someone has a macadamia nut cookie, it's on because of all the cookies that are available, that's probably the one I'm going to go for. So like if there's chocolate and there's peanut butter and whatever, snickerdoodle, sugar cookie, if there's a macadamia nut amongst that bunch, I will probably go for that bitch first because to me those are kind of rare and they're usually like pretty damn tasty. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know. Like pecan pie see, I will take pecan over potato or potato. Sorry, I was trying to say sweet potato or pumpkin pies.
I'm not a fan of sweet potato. I'll like having a sweet potato with my meal, but not sweet potato pie.
Oh, see, I'm
not a big fan of sweet potato pie, but they're fine. So
yeah.
I don't think they're gross or anything, but I'd rather have a potato than I would like than have sweet potato.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm more of a chilled fruit or custardy kind of pie person myself. So it really depends on what it is. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm pretty good for any kind of pie for the most part. I do enjoy a cheesecake. I used to make cheesecakes on the regular.
Cheesecakes, which is a misnomer because they're actually pies. It's like a tomato. Culinarily speaking, we treat it like a vegetable, but it's actually a fruit.
Okay. I was like, you were getting on me about orange juice. We were talking about peppermint, and I was about to say, how the hell do you get to tomatoes from cheesecake?
I connected it. I'm making an analogy.
Yeah, I followed you, but I was like, okay. Yes, technically tomatoes are a fruit, but we treat them as a vegetable. And although it explains why people love tomatoes, like tomato sauce,
and a cheese
so much.
Cake is a pie, but we really kind of treat it more like a cake than a pie.
Well, I think it depends on how you prepare the cheesecake.
You can't convince me otherwise. No, I don't think a tomato cheesecake is a thing, Owen.
Yeah,
I'm just making an analogy how culinarily speaking things get like mixed up. Sometimes.
Yeah, no, I understand. Like when I made cheesecakes, I would make them from scratch. I would do the water bath, which is why I'm like, not really a pie.
It's a pie because you could definitely not call it a cake because a cake is like you make a batter.
Right.
And there's no crust to it.
Cakes typically do not have a crust. You are correct.
Well,
However-
cheesecake has a crust, although it's just on the bottom. It's not on the sides. And it has and the
depends on how you
cheesecake is
make
kind
your
of like a...
It depends on how you make your cheesecake. Thank you very much.
Whenever I think of cheesecake, I think of it looking like a cake, but it's the filling, the main part of the cheesecake is more of a relationship to pie filling than it does to actually cake, which is usually a batter based thing.
So I have to laugh because I'm on Google and I'm looking, and I found a recipe from Taste of Home called the cheesecake pie recipe, which cracks my ass up to no end. So instead of calling it a cheesecake, they called it cheesecake pie, which I'm like, it's still a cheesecake. Like,
But
it doesn't matter.
it is still more in relationship to a pie than it is to a cake. Just looks
so
like
Owen-
a cake, anyways.
Asked in the live chat, tomato cheesecake, is
No.
that a thing?
No,
Yes, it is.
is it?
It's a thing.
Is it a common thing?
Savory tomato and ricotta cheesecake, tomato and basil cheesecake, no baked tomato cheesecake, Havarti and sun-dried tomato cheesecake.
Apparently
from
it is
Betty
a thing.
Crocker. California avocado cheesecake with tomato vanilla jam.
Okay, I'm going to transition to something slightly different. Because you're talking about all the things you think of when it comes to the holidays.
Okay, go
When it
ahead.
comes to me for the holidays, the only thing that I think of when it comes to actual holiday stuff is two things that happen on the morning of Christmas every year. And that's blueberry muffins and orange Julius.
That is not what I thought you were going to say. For some reason, no, actually it was what I thought you were going to say because I've known you for a while. But there was a part of me that was expecting you to say Sex with Santa and
I wish,
Breakfast in
yes.
Bed.
Get a protein shake from
Right from the source.
yes, straight from the tap. All I want for Christmas is Santa.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So, fresh made blueberry muffins out of the oven?
Yes, which is one of the reasons why I got this year. I'd spent less than $10 to get a silicone muffin tin. Although, was it really a tin if it's made of silicone?
Pan.
Pan. There you go.
Yeah, you call it a muffin pan.
I mean, I still, from what I can tell and everything, I still need to like put it onto a cookie sheet. But it's gonna make making my muffins a little bit easier. And as a test, just this morning, as I got off work about 12 hours ago, I picked up meatloaf ingredients, and I'm gonna make meatloaf muffins. And maybe use that as kind of like a test run, even though it's kind of different, but still. Then just make sure to toss it in the dishwasher, because you can do that with the silicone, and get it all clean so that I can make blueberry muffins, which I'll get the ingredients later this week, because, fresh blueberry muffins. Unlike my parents, who will be making essentially the same thing for Christmas, because it's family tradition and everything.
Right.
But she's going to get the help of Betty Crocker.
The box?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or bag or what have you. So,
Right.
I offered when I went up to visit, I said, hey, if you get the ingredients, I will make you fresh blueberry muffins.
Right.
And she's like, I don't want to buy the cake flour.
Okay.
And if any of you, and here's the thing is, I actually use a modified version of Alton Brown's recipe, because Alton Brown says to use yogurt, right? And the amount of yogurt is a cup.
Right.
And I believe he refers to it as just plain yogurt, right? Have you ever, since I don't really eat yogurt that much, and if I do, like just eating regular yogurt, I would get, the fruity stuff, right? because if I'm
The
just
fruit,
gonna,
the fruit on the bottom, or
I usually go with the blended
flavored. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So since I don't want to get this big container of plain yogurt because I'm not gonna like cook more than just this one batch of blueberry muffins.
Okay.
What I do, and this to me works out perfectly, is I get the blueberry blended like 6-pack of cups, and I use that instead of the plain yogurt.
Yeah,
and it's
makes sense.
delicious. And it's so it kind of gives it even boostier to the blueberry flavoring.
It's funny because I was on a yogurt kick for a long time, but I very quickly grew to dislike standard commercial yogurt. I just don't care for like the flavoring stuff and the fruit on the bottom, and like so I found at our local co-op they have a locally made, probably within about 100 miles, full fat yogurt that's plain, not vanilla, not flavored, not nothing. And I would eat that shit like it was going out of style. But I like tart foods. Like I don't have a problem with like tart flavoring. So like I would just use it as a substitute for sour cream and other stuff like that. And I would make yogurt with like oatmeal and fruit, and applesauce or whatever, like sometimes as a snack or as breakfast or whatever. And it's funny because you were talking about yogurt and I was like, God, I haven't had any yogurt in probably a long time. But that's because, I'm buying grass-fed, non-GMO, non-hormonal, stuff. So it's kind of expensive. That's why I don't buy it, or at least, I haven't bought it in quite a while now. But yeah, I was just thinking about it. I was like, oh, yeah, I really kind of like that. But it's funny because some people are very picky about yogurt. Like either it seems to me that they like it or they don't. And what's funny to me is if they like it, they usually like commercial stuff, and they're like, oh, I buy stuff at the store, little cups of like Activia, Yoplait, Dannon, you name it, whatever. And I'm like, oh, it's too sweet. It's got all that stuff in it.
So on the other part, how familiar are you with Orange Julius?
Well, it's really funny that you say that because there used to be, I don't think it's there anymore. Because, all right, so we have a mall. It's kind of a joke in a way to call it a mall because some people think of malls and then they go and they're like, this is a mall. And I'm like, hey, just deal with it.
It's just a shopping center.
Well, it is a mall, technically. It's just not a very big one. Never has been. Inside of it, now there's a food court section in one area. So, but I haven't been in that mall in probably 3 years since the last time I went in, which happened to be on Christmas Eve because my mother needed a freaking gift certificate for my cousin for a birthday or for Christmas gift. But anyways, when I was much younger, Sam's Hot Pretzels was in one section. I can't remember what the store was that was down on that end, and across this big like hall thing, across the way was Orange Julius. And I remember having it as a kid, but it wasn't something that I went nuts for, like that I craved. And I'm not a creamsicle fan. So people kind of, get all like, about Orange Julius. And I'm like, meh. Like, it's, it's there. It's not something that I crave. But I probably have things in my, life that I think are the bee's knees, and other people are like, whatever. So I say to each their own. But like, if someone was to ask me what makes Orange Julius, I wouldn't be able to tell you. I'm like, it's orange juice, right?
Orange Julius uses powder, I think. Like, there's a mix they put into the thing and stuff. But here's the recipe that I have. I also did a quick search on all recipes. There's like 2 on there, but not like this. It's super, super simple. First, you get a blender. Then, if you can find it, and I'm having a hard time finding it, so I have to end up doubling this recipe, but this is the recipe, is a small 6-ounce can of frozen orange juice. Obviously, it's Orange Julius, right? Put that in the blender. Using that same can, you fill that up with water, pour that in, fill that same can up with milk, pour that in. You do a third of a cup of sugar, 1 egg, and a teaspoon of vanilla, and 4 ice cubes. And blend on high speed until you no longer hear the ice.
Well, you're not really that far off of technically what the recipe is from the actual company. They say it is a mixture of ice, orange juice, sweetener, which in your case is sugar, milk, powdered egg whites, and vanilla flavoring.
That's why they have powder.
Well, and it's from the sounds of it, you're putting a whole egg in it.
Right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm like, oh, yeah, it makes sense to me now.
Or in my case, because I can't find a 6-ounce orange juice can, I can only find a 12.
Right.
I have to do that can, plus that can of water, plus that can of milk, 2/3 of a cup of sugar, 2 eggs, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and 8 ice cubes. Basically, you can double it, and it works just as fine.
Do you know who it's named after? Or how it got named, I guess?
No.
The founder's name is Julius Fried.
No.
They're still in existence and they're owned by Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, frequently you will see Dairy Queen and Orange Julius, like in those combo things in malls.
Nothing rhymes with orange. I'm reading their website. It's kind of cracking me up. Be an original. Keep it fresh. Keep it real. The world will catch up.
But I'll tell you this recipe tastes a lot better. And it's nice and thick and creamy. The only thing is I've been using whole milk versus what we normally did at home where we use skim milk. So you might also want to choose the type of milk that you're using.
I'm wondering,
it's not as thick.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm wondering how it would be affected if you'd have to test it, but if you used sweetened condensed milk, like not a whole can, you know what I mean? But like if you played with it, because sweetened condensed milk is basically just
you might even be able
with sugar in it.
Yeah, you might be able to like remove the sugar part of it.
Right.
At least. Maybe it just what the milk is, but I don't know.
Interesting. It's been around since 1926, so they are 8 years away from being 100 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they're still around, so although they're owned by Dairy Queen now, so
they've been owned by Dairy Queen since 1987. I didn't realize it's been that long.
Still, it's a good long run before they got bought out.
Yeah. Orange Julius was the official drink of the World's Fair in New York in 1964.
Oh, nice. I mean, it's a refreshing drink. But using this instead of eggnog was so much better.
In 1965, Johnny Carson presented lifetime passes to all the Orange Julius stores in America.
Nice.
Oh, I think what they mean is he was presented a lifetime pass. I'm like, what? I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Their timeline is a little.
Takes about 5 minutes to make. It really fills up a blender when you have the 12 ounces. By the way,
see what you're describing sounds a lot like a Dole Whip, which I don't know if you've ever had one of those or not.
No, I don't think so.
So Dole Whip is classically a soft serve, dairy-free dessert, but it's like a beverage that you can get at Walt Disney World. It's pineapple juice with vanilla ice cream, basically.
Oh, okay. I can see
so that. Right. So, like, to me, if you just swap out the orange juice for pineapple juice, you're probably getting something pretty close to that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So that's my thing, and just ever since I learned how to make the fresh blueberry muffins from Alton Brown, I really gone back unless I'm being really cheap.
Yeah. No, I can I can understand that. Yeah, that's kind of. I mean, I'm trying to think if there's really anything else at this time of year that comes up for me, and I don't really think so. Like my aunt on my dad's side of the family, one of his sisters, she makes sugar cookies, like a factory, and makes them like a ton of them. My other aunt used to make pizzelles.
It's like cookie season.
Well, it is cookie season, but the thing about my aunt that makes the sugar cookies, I don't care for sugar cookies. They're boring to me. Like, and a lot of the other family is like they want zip bags of sugar cookies that are theirs alone. So when she comes, like when she came at Thanksgiving, she gave some of my cousins their own individual bags of sugar cookies because they crave them. And I'm like, it's just a freaking cookie. Like, it's not, to me, it's not that special of a cookie.
Like my mom's,
so it cracks me up.
My mom's care package for us way kids is the types of cookies that we prefer, which usually includes chocolate chips, and my favorite, which are chocolate peanut butter chips cookies.
Okay.
My favorite. And Crispix mix.
Instead of Chex Mix?
Yeah.
Crispix? Yeah.
I mean, it's basically Chex Mix. It's just shortcutted because you're using Crispix, which is both like the rice and corn in one little thing. Mm-hmm. And obviously no wheat.
It's funny because this one place Dad and I have been going shopping at, they have Chex Mix seasoning packets. And I haven't, and every time I see them, I feel like buying one because there's a nostalgia thing. I have a memory of making Chex Mix with my mom in the kitchen when I was younger in the house I grew up. But I remember how like you bought the Chex Mix, like the Chex Mixes technically, like bran, rice, corn, and wheat. I think you bought like all the varieties. Yeah, the brand was
it's
brown.
corn, white, and it's corn, white, and wheat. Or
yeah, but
corn, rice, and wheat. The brown one is wheat. Yes, it is. I'm very familiar with this. There is no bran Chex. Chex.
Yes, there was. It was introduced in 1978. I'm gonna put it in the Skype chat so you can see I'm not crazy.
Well, if anything, it's no longer around.
What the? Why isn't this? Copy.
There's wheat Chex. There's rice Chex. There's corn Chex. Actually, yeah, there's the corn Chex. Their order of stuff here is on the Chex website is weird because it starts off. Maybe they're doing it in alphabetical order. They start off with blueberry Chex, chocolate Chex, cinnamon Chex, corn Chex, honey nut Chex. I love honey nut Chex. Rice Chex, vanilla Chex, and wheat Chex. But I've never seen any brand Chex.
They probably don't make it anymore.
That's probably why.
But yeah, it was brown. It was a dark chocolate brown color.
Why can't I get to it? I'm clicking
well, the first link didn't work. I sent it's linked twice. Yeah. Anyways, but I remember we bought like all 4 or 5 varieties of Chex, and on the back of one or more of the boxes was listed the Chex Mix recipe. And so you would take your scissors and cut the cardboard box and keep the recipe card. And I remember that I think it has Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire.
And
say it
butter.
Properly.
I'm going to say it like the British say it. For watching a certain channel, though they don't pronounce the CH, it's Worcestershire. Anyways, so, but I remembered like it was this whole thing, like about like making the sauce and then obviously, putting it together. But
it's
Philip in the live chat's like, Jeff is right. I'm like, about which part?
It's WORCETSTERSHIRE. Worcestershire. Worcestershire.
I'm pretty sure
there's no Chester. It's CE. Worcestershire. Anyways, there's the official recipe is 3 cups of corn Chex, 3 cups of rice Chex, 3 cups of wheat Chex, 1 cup of mixed nuts, 1 cup of bite-sized pretzels, 1 cup of garlic-flavored bite-sized bagel chips or regular-sized bagel chips broken into 1-inch pieces, 6 tablespoons butter or margarine, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, 1.5 tablespoons is seasoned salt, 1/3 of a teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. You can obviously change the recipe to suit your favorite Chex as long as you have a total of 9 cups of Chex.
Yeah.
Or in my mom's case,
Crispix.
Crispix.
By the way, they still make multi-brand Chex to this day. I just sent you a link you can buy from Amazon. Which, the one thing that cracks me up about
It's probably
this,
the only place you can. And is that actually still made, or is this a really old box? Because it's not even on the Chex website.
oh, well, it does say currently unavailable. What cracked me up is that it says daily value 24% of your fiber for like one serving or one bowl. So, I don't know. No, I just remember distinctly about there being the brown, the brown Chex box. Well, it was brown in color, but yeah, it was.
I wonder if there was a time when it was called bran, but then it changed to wheat.
Oh,
Like,
they're both
they're same thing.
No, they're discontinued. So these are all the discontinued varieties of Chex: raisin bran, sugar frosted, sugar, apple cinnamon, oat, bran, double Chex, wheat and raisin,
Double
graham, like golden grams, I guess, honey graham, frosted mini Chex, strawberry Chex, and multi-brand Chex.
But they still have blueberry Chex. And they have cinnamon Chex. They just don't have apple cinnamon Chex.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if you go to Chex.com, they've got a whole bunch of different recipes. The original Chex Mix, the Merry Grinch Mix, the Bacon Honey Barbecue Chex Mix, Queso Taco Mix, Unicorn Lucky Charms Chex, Easter Chex.
Okay, we're a little too
Christmas Chex.
Yeah, we're a little underage for this. Apparently, back in 1968, there was a series of commercials called the Chex Mates, which was a cartoon threesome. A muscle man named Chexter, an Asian karate expert named Chop Louie. Oh my god, that's so awful. And a blonde cowgirl named Jessie Jane.
Wow.
I'm surprised this hasn't come up like in some nostalgia thing on YouTube or Facebook or something.
By the way, there's
Those
a pumpkin
commercials.
spice Chex Mix.
No.
Pumpkin
gone too far.
spice. Anyone?
They've gone too far. Gone way too far with that. And what's really wrong is like pumpkin spice is not a thing. Like it is a thing.
There is a spice mix,
Correct.
which is referred to as pumpkin spice or
Right, but
pumpkin pie spice.
right. But that's what's really crazy is like it's a mix. It's not a unique. It's not a specific spice.
That combo is referred to as pumpkin pie spice or pumpkin spice. So
Yeah.
it's like apple pie spice. There's also that. So
Yeah. So,
anyway,
but yeah, like those are kind of the only things I can really think of like at this time of year. There's not too much outside.
chocolate covered pretzels.
I guess. I don't know.
I get those from mom too.
I was not
Krause's.
Well, when we were, oh, Krause's.
Krause's chocolates.
When I was,
Although that's a year-round thing technically, but you know.
yeah, when I was younger, all we had was one kind of candy cane. Now they come in every frickin' flavor under the sun, including I saw a picture someone took of clam flavored candy canes.
Ew!
I know. I
mean, I don't like seafood to begin with. I don't even
here.
like candy canes to begin with, but I'm not a fan of candy canes.
Yeah. No, I was like, really? Like I've seen Tabasco. I've seen like savory.
What is this, Japan?
Like no, like here in the U.S., like it's become a novelty thing.
I
You
know.
can buy a box
I'm
of-
saying, what are you thinking? You think this is Japan? Because Japan, how many different types of Kit Kats do they have?
I don't know. No, but it's just kind of funny to me. Like, I've seen all these different kinds of like candy canes that have come out, so I'm like, candy canes aren't candy canes anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like you gotta go
They're not the
looking
same.
to find them.
I'm sure it's perfectly easy to get like regular candy canes. It's just people be like, "You're not. Everybody's not used to these things, so we're gonna now do this or something." I don't know.
I thought it was a big friggin' deal when you got multicolored candy canes, probably about 5 to 10 years ago, and they were cherry flavored. So they didn't have purple in them, but they were like red, orange, yellow, green, and blue, I think. They had almost all the colors of the rainbow, but they were cherry flavored. And I thought that was like, a big deal. And then soon after they came out with like all sorts of like sweet tarts and Starburst and Skittles and like all these different flavored like root beer candy canes and
Completely unnecessary stuff.
well, I mean, yeah, it's just like kind of novelty stuff, which I'm like, well, I guess it's for all the people who don't like a traditional candy cane.
I suppose.
I don't know.
Anyways, have we made you all hungry now?
Perhaps not.
So we are now hungry for the holidays. Show title ding.
See what you did there.
Yeah. Anyways, hey, I think it's that time. It's the end. Oh. And now if I can click over to my thing so I can rattle off my stuff. There's plenty of ways to contact us. Let us know what sort of holiday food you get excited for or hunger for or really, really like. You can do that many ways by commenting on our blog at cubsoutloud.com. Shoot us an email at cubsoutloud@gmail.com. Leave us a voicemail at 361-COL-TALK. That's 361-265-8255. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Notice I skipped something there. At Cubs Out Loud in the appropriate place of the URL. You can join our Entourage chat and chat with us directly about what you like at tinyurl.com/telegram-COL. If you want to know when we are going live on these, keep watch on our calendar at tinyurl.com/calendar-COL. You can subscribe to that so you can get notifications, as well as making sure you're setting your notifications for our YouTube channel too. Ding that bell. You can get a bunch of merchandise, such as this version 1 Cubs Out Loud t-shirt or a version 3 Cubs Out Loud t-shirt that Gary's wearing. Ta-da! That's at our merch store at zazzle.com/Cubs Out Loud. You could become our boss and be a patron at patreon.com/Cubs Out Loud. You can also rate us on iTunes, subscribe to us through Google Play Podcasts, and give us a thumbs up on Stitcher Radio. You can find me anywhere on the internet. It says Box, That Box, Bobby, Box, Cub, Box, something or other.
If you would like to get in touch with me, you can pretty much do a search for Garbear73. That's GARBEAR73. Although I realized I'm probably becoming difficult to find out because it changes to platforms. So I'm like,
Oh yeah, I'm I'm at the Box Cub on bear.community.
Yeah, and I just joined as Gibber73XXX on there and created a new Twitter recently and joined some other stuff, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm feeling very
We're waiting for the fallout to be done, and we'll figure it all out. And with that...
In 2019, it'll be a whole new year of who knows what.
Yeah, maybe Tumblr will go back and then everybody will migrate back. I don't know, something like that. In any case, say good night, everybody!
Good night, everybody.
I don't need to use one of those urinals, but I need to use what's next to the urinals. Be right back. Actually, I'm gonna just stop streaming.